meeting. And like I said, if someone jumps in, we're just going to let them jump right in. But I wanted to talk about building a campfire. We found some videos that other Girl Scouts over in Washington State had made to teach us about building a campfire. And then I thought we would have with my experienced other leaders here to answer questions. If you guys have questions about what we watched, we might pause the video and talk about different parts of it as we go along. And we are also going to have a little quiz at the end, but it'll be anonymous. So don't feel bad. Don't feel a lot of stress. Okay? Are we ready? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Amelia's ready. Nurse Lynn is ready. Kaylin is ready. And that is all I can see on my little screen right now. There are less of you. Okay. All right. So one thing I wanted to mention is I know that brownies can earn a badge related to campfire building. And I'm pretty sure that if you watch this class with me and then do the activity that Miss Laurie and I are going to suggest at the end, that you can earn, I think it might be a fun patch. I can look into it if you're a brownie and you're interested. Put it in the chat if you want me to look into the requirements, okay? All right. I'm going to start by, we're going to watch 3 videos. The first 2 are shorter than the third, but none are very long. The first one is about fire starters. And as soon as you watch this video, you'll see that it's what you see your leader doing. And in the videos when we were lighting the charcoals for the box oven, these are all different kinds of fire starters that we've used. Now, I did want to note that I wore a bandana today for fire building. And I'm wearing a t-shirt today, girls, that is from the first day camp I ever went to as a leader. It's from when Lily was in 1st grade. It's before Ava was even in my troop. It was called Catch the Go Green Bug, and Nurse Lynn was one of the directors. Woohoo!
Cool.
Very cool. So, Ava, you guys are going into your senior year, and that was whenever you guys were going into 2nd grade, so that was 10 years ago that I got this t-shirt. Yay. Okay.
True.
Yes, because it was 2010. It's right there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start out by watching. I need to find the right screen to share. We're going to start out by watching a video from Girl Scouts of Western Pennsylvania. All right. So I am gonna wait a second. I'm gonna stop the share. Okay, there they are. All right, Miss Abby and Miss Heather is back. So we're gonna go ahead and share this. And I wanna show you a little bit of what I've done. So this is our YouTube page. This is what it looks like when you arrive as a subscriber. There's a spotlight song that's there every day. Today's is the I'm a Knife, a Fork, a Spoon, a Spatula, Grace. And C.A. Sid will teach you the song. And you have to watch it to understand what I mean. But I have created some playlists, and I wanted to show you this playlist that's called Outdoor Nature Activities. And that is where I'm housing the references for these 3 videos we're watching today, in case you want to watch them again. And we have our other outdoor activities will get populated in here. But we're going to start by watching.
These are examples of
starters. So I'm going to make it big. If you need me, you can unmute yourself and tell me that you need me to pause if you have a question, but it is only 2 minutes long. Let's try to watch the whole thing, and then we can answer questions at the end.
These are examples of common fire starters. Snack foods, cotton ball and petroleum jelly, birthday candle, wax paper and candle stub, newspaper, cotton string and wax, charcoal briquettes, melted wax and cardboard egg cartons, paper cupcake wrapper, melted wax and cedar shavings, melted wax and cardboard egg carton, sawdust, melted wax and cardboard egg cartons, We're going to show you how to make this type of fire starter. To make egg carton fire starters, you can leave the lid on or separate each and give everybody their own. You will need a cardboard egg carton, cedar shavings or pet bedding or wood shavings, a metal container, household wax or reused candles, and a spoon. Be sure to use a double boiler to melt the wax. The wax is hot. An adult should pour. This is another way to combine the shavings and the hot wax. You don't have to spend your budget on ready-made fire starters. Go outside and have fun.
Okay, so does anybody have, first off, any questions about what you saw in the fire starters? You can ask in the chat, or you can raise your hand, whatever you would like. Ms. Laurie, do you have a question?
I was going to ask, how do people tend to get the shavings, the wood shavings?
I have always known that to be, we asked for people, and I have not been involved in making the fire starters. Usually Teresa Smith did that. But I'm pretty sure that in Teresa Smith's house or one of her neighbor's house, there was a pet guinea pig, and we used their shavings.
Oh, so you can buy them somewhere.
Yeah, and Kaylin, yeah, your guinea pig is using pine bedding. Yeah, any pet store, I mean, you could buy clean ones, but you know, you have to clean those frequently, and like you have a bunch of them, so then you can put them in there. That would be a recycling way to do it. You might want to wash your hands after you make those fire starters, but but that's how I'm pretty sure we do that. Now, that is the kind that they made for us with the bedding and the wax is the kind that we usually use at day camp that you'll usually see. I also have made them where it's a little birthday candle and we wrap them up in wax paper, because what you want is you want something to get the fire started and then something that'll slow it down so it burns for a little while to get your fire started. Kaylin, a safe way to pour the wax is probably, you're right in the middle there in age, but I would definitely tell all the scouts on here that you should have an adult pour the wax. Nurse Lynn, you would agree with that, right? Hot wax is very hot. If you spill it on yourself, it's not like something that you can rinse off very quickly. So it is a burn hazard. So I would still recommend that you all have an adult help you pour the wax. I did like the one that I saw where, and I had never seen it before, where they had an adult like put the stuff in the hot wax, stir it up, and then you could spoon it in. And I felt a little bit safer with that, because it would have cooled with the addition of the shavings or the pine bedding or whatever you would use, and then you could scoop it into the ice cream scoops. But to pour wax is really hard to do. So I definitely would want you to have an adult help you do that. Even as an adult, I would be concerned and make sure that I had a plan to do that. So I just want to make sure that we do that. I have my little outdoor training notes from when I learned over 10 years ago how to make a campfire, and it has all these same fire starters on it, and they called the I liked some of these names, so I thought I'd show you the little candles that you wrap up a birthday candle in wax paper. They call candle kisses. Isn't that fun? I use candle kisses sometimes when I light charcoal for a box oven, because they're really easy to poke out of those little holes and then light in. But they don't have nearly the oomph of those egg cartons. Those things will really get a candle going fast. And we're going to talk about something else called a fuzz stick. You'll see it coming up. It uses knife skills So that's something that your leader will tell you when you're ready to do, but they're going to reference it in an upcoming video. So I wanted to tell you, you take a stick, a small stick, and you use a carving knife, and you like kind of slash the stick at an angle. I do not know any better how to do it. Here's a little picture. And instead of removing the little shavings, you let them stick off the stick. So it's like taking a stick that's a little bit bigger and making it smaller so that it lights up a little faster. They're called fuzz sticks, which I also thought was a fun name and wanted to share. Okay. Another trick that they have here is to waterproof matches. You can dip the ends in clear nail polish. So that'll keep them waterproof, because I have been at day camp and I have had wet matches, and I am lucky that day campers are nice and friendly and helpful to neighbors, because otherwise we would have been without lunch and there would have been like anarchy in our unit. Okay, there were a few more questions. Yes, Kaylin asked if a scout adds the shaving wood to the wax, is that safe? I would still want to have a grown-up with you. I would like to have the grown-up take the double boiler, the wax part off of the heat source and be there while you scoop it in. But that cool or room temperature bedding will absorb some of the heat from the wax. So then stirring and putting it into the egg carton is safe to do at that point. But always you would want to do that. And Nurse Lynn points out that you should always have cool water sitting next to you in case of splashing hot wax. Even if a little bit splashes on you, you can have that cool water so that you can get that wax off and cool your skin, because that will decrease the severity of any incidental little burns. And you're going to see that when we talk about the fire too. We always have a bucket of water, metal bucket full of water with us. We do it here at home too. Okay. Any other questions related to fire starters? All right, we're going to go to phase 2 of our lesson tonight, and that is we're going to talk about different kinds of firewood and when you use them. So I'm going to share the screen again, and we're going to watch the second video that I have posted to our playlist.
Examples of the different sizes of firewood. The smallest size is called tinder, including fuzz sticks. Fuzz sticks are made with a pocket knife. The next largest size is called kindling, and the largest size is called fuel. Downfall often has all 3 sizes of firewood on the same branch: tinder, kindling, and fuel. A good place to find downfall is at the base of trees. Here you can find all 3 sizes of firewood: tinder, kindling, and fuel in the same place. If you're planning to build a campfire, bring your own firewood. Some established camps and campgrounds have wood sheds. Dry wood burns better than wet wood does. Be sure to read the signs. Wherever you decide to go, be sure to check for open burn regulations. Go outside and have fun.
Okay, so that was a pretty quick little lesson. I know that when I was learning, I was taught that tinder is about the size of your little finger, or even smaller. Like it might be the size of Amelia or Abby's little finger. So you want it to be the tiniest kind. And then kindling is more like the size of your thumb. It's a little bit bigger. And then fuel is like the size of your arm, pretty much, okay? And I remember a song, but I only remember the first part to help me remember that. Nurse Lynn, you might know it more than I do, but it was tinder, kindling, fuel, 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 fuel. And then I don't know anything else. So that's all we got, people. That's what we got, but it's kind of fun. Remember, tinder, you're starting with your little finger, the word tinder, kindling, tinder, kindling. pew, pew, pew. So anyway, that is how I know about the different types of firewood. Now, Caitlin, you'll see how Caitlin asked a question about, why are there 3 types of firewood? You'll understand that better when we look at the video that we're coming up to next with how to actually construct the fire. But the concept is that the smaller diameter, the little tinder, will catch fire a lot faster. And we have to sort of slowly build up to get a full fire that we can cook off of or that we can use for heat or warmth. That's the same thing. Or light if it's an evening event. Yes, Miss Laurie.
I always get confused which one's which between tinder and kindling. So to help me remember, it's the opposite of the alphabet. So it goes biggest
Yes.
fires, or it goes TKF.
Yeah, which is reverse alphabetical order. Very good. Awesome. Okay, that's cool. So I think that it is there was one other thing. Did you see the fuzz sticks that they were talking about? That you take there's a pocket knife and you just shave the littlest bit off of the edge of a piece of what I would call almost kindling and make it even more tinderish so that it could do that. Yeah, they were a little bit hard to see. You're going to see them again in this next video that we're watching. Kaylin said she couldn't really see them. They're not really quite in focus in the video. But in a pinch, that might help you if you don't have a lot of high quality little tinder and you don't have, or you run out of your egg carton fire starters, that might help you out. Okay? Any other fire? Oh, I wanted to point some things out. First of all, these Girl Scouts are from Western Washington, so they're referencing their campsites. That's their campsites, not GSWPA campsites. I know that in Pennsylvania, they do not, and Ohio, they do not want you to bring your own firewood with you when you go camping. You should go to your camping site and buy firewood locally. And can anyone tell me why? It's really super important that we all follow this rule.
No.
Eva, you don't know why? I thought
No.
because it has to do with critters, and I know how much you love critters.
Well,
Can you guess?
well, true. Well, touche, but no, I don't know why.
Okay. All right. So I can tell you why. If you've ever gone, and there's a lot of ash trees in North Park, but a lot of them are down. If you're ever on a hike in the park and you're looking at trees that have fallen, a lot of them are ash trees because there is a bug called the ash borer that is an invasive species to our area, and it has killed a lot of the ash trees. Now, it is kind of cool to look at. I know that sometimes we've been out hiking, if you pull the bark back, they leave all these little lines through the trees, but they kill the trees. So that's why if we took firewood from here in Pittsburgh to Sandusky, Ohio, we might transport with us that ash borer bug and infect the trees in Ohio or Pymatooning. So if you go camping, it's important to realize that and not transport those little bugs. Now, if you didn't know that and you had taken your fire to your campfire, it would be important to burn every last piece that you brought so that you didn't leave it there for those little bugs to find their way to a tree in the area. Does that make sense? There are more problem bugs than the ash borer, but that's the biggest one that we deal with in Western Pennsylvania. And we want to try to minimize the damage that it's doing to the ash trees. Okay? The designs they make in the trees are very pretty, but it is sad to see so many beautiful trees on their sides in the woods. Okay? All right. Okay, so if you guys don't have any more questions about firewood, we're going to watch our final video, which is how to build a campfire, which is the exciting part. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and we will watch our third and final video.
When you're ready to build your fire, make sure your fire circle is cleaned out inside and from around the outside of the fire ring. Now that the fire circle is ready, these are the things you will need to have on hand to build your fire. A metal water bucket with water in it, a stick, a fire starter, your firewood, a shovel, a rake, and matches. Any ties, long hair, lanyards, anything that could hang down into the fire need to be tucked in and tied back before you begin. The stick in the fire bucket can be used to tend the fire, and any critters that crawl into the fire bucket to get a drink can use the stick to climb out of the bucket. There are many ways to build a fire. In the Northwest, weather is often an issue. We begin with an A-frame. The three elements of a fire are oxygen, fuel, and heat. The A-frame base allows air to flow underneath and feed the flame. The tinder is laid on top of the fire starter. Braced against the cross piece of the A.
Those are the fuzz sticks that they're using.
This will allow the air to flow in underneath and feed the flame. The A-frame is the base of many fires. The crisscross fire, laid around the outside of the A and over the flame, is used to create a fast bed of hot coals to cook with. Lighting the match, strike toward your target, or lighting the fire starter from the bottom of the cross piece of the A-frame so that the flame will burn up into the dry tinder. As the small flame catches the wood, we gradually add larger pieces of kindling. As the flame starts to build, the A-frame is being turned into a cone fire. To build the cone fire, we found a stick that has a fork. Laid the second piece of the cone into the fork and propped these two pieces with a third leg. The A-frame fire is feeding the cone fire from underneath. Every fire has a purpose. The A-frame base lights the log cabin fire, which is built around the outside edge. A log cabin gets warm and bright and is used for many campfires and ceremonies. To extinguish a campfire, remove the fuel, the heat, or the oxygen. Stirring the fuel apart. Sprinkling it lightly with water. cools it down. And stirring the coals with the fire tending stick. Identifying the hot spots and sprinkling them with water and feeling for the heat. There's no need to pour a bucket of water in your fire circle. Stir the remaining coals to locate any more hot spots. When the fuel and the coals in the fire circle are cool enough to touch with your bare hand, your fire is out. So whatever fire you decide to build, go outside and have fun.
Alrighty, okay. All right, so we have, yeah, that I was gonna say that I'm looking at your chat now. I was unable to watch the chat during the thing, but it does, her fingers are not in the flame. They were behind it, but on the camera, it looks like she's totally just touching that fire. I was going to point that out. Thank you, Amelia, for mentioning that, or Miss Bonnie, whichever of you it was, or both of you. Because that would definitely not be a good thing. We have, I did want to point out a couple of differences, or I just wanted to tell you, most of the time at day camp, we're making a cooking fire. So, and I know that when I learned to make the fire, I learned it in this similar way with making an A-frame as my base and then going from there. I'm not sure that that's still what they teach us. Bonnie, you're probably the one who's been most recently through outdoor training. What was your experience with what they recommended you to do?
They briefly went over some of the other methods, but they did encourage the cross frame for being able to get coals, which most people are doing the A-frame and aren't thinking about cooking down for coals.
Right, yeah. So at camp, what I would usually use is an A-frame to start myself out, but then it would look much more like that cross type pattern, because that gave you a fast fire that made coals, and then we could eat our lunch faster. That was always my goal at day camp, right, girls? Faster lunch.
Yeah.
All right. If you, however, like the teepee fire that they made, or a cone fire, or the log cabin, I think those are brighter fires. They're good for like a social gathering or even a ceremony, because if you're doing special things with Girl Scouts, you might have a fireside ceremony at the end of camp. That would be a great fire for that, because it's big and it's hot and it's bright and it lights up really fast. But even those, you can start with that little A-frame underneath. The fire starts at the bottom and it goes upward. So that's why when you're lighting with the match, you're lighting underneath and you're trying to get that, because those flames are going to go upward. Now, did you guys have any questions about what you saw? I'm going to give everybody a minute to find their hand button. If they don't, then that's okay. I had, do any of the leaders here have anything to add based on what we saw, or concerns? They don't do everything exactly as we did. I was a little worried about the woman sitting on the stones. We don't let that happen at day camp. That was a little too close for especially a little girl. I try to have the girls outside of the rocks. The rocks are there so that they don't, you know, to help stop the fire. Like, what if you had a big teepee one and they fell over? Those rocks keep the fire inside the fire circle. Amelia mentions that they make fancy fires, those Lincoln log fires. Those are fun to see though, right? I think those look really cool. So, but at day camp, I haven't usually made those. Okay. Laurie, did you have another? Yep, your hand's up. Go for it.
I really enjoy seeing how people put out the fires. I think it's very important not to just pour the whole bucket over the fire, because
Yes.
it's actually how you get the embers to jump out of that fire ring.
Right.
Rocks, and then they can start a fire somewhere else. But it also drenches your fire circle so that you can't use it another time. So
Exactly.
it might not dry out fast enough for the next day of camp, or if you're going to cook between lunch and dinner, it's definitely not going to dry out in between. And
Yeah.
you would be amazed that the fire could be sitting in 2 inches of water and still have hot red embers somewhere else in that fire, hidden between 2 logs that happen to not get wet.
Right, exactly. I really liked how she stirred that fire up with her fire stick. I've got to tell you that this has happened to me before, so leaders, be careful. You find that perfect fire stick and you have it in your water thing, and then before you know it, somebody has burnt it.
Oh,
Like day 2 of camp, somebody's burnt it and you've lost your best poker stick. But I like how it's spreading apart the fuel logs. And the other thing was she did not touch those. When she was holding her hand over that campfire, you can hover your hand above, and if it gets uncomfortable, that's called a hot spot. So seeing how long you can hold your hand over a fire is a good indicator of how cool it is. Do I need to sprinkle some more water there? Whenever we also learned to take an aluminum pie plate. Is this something people still do? Or a bunch of leaves. You can poke a bunch of holes in a little aluminum pie plate and like scoop out a little water and shake it over top of your fire to make it more poker, or take leaves and get them wet and sprinkle those over. But at camp, I usually used my hand, just like she did. I dunk my hand in and then just sprinkle it. But you don't want to dump it a whole bunch on there all at one time, but you do want to separate the fuel logs. You want to hover your hand above. If it's hot, add some more stuff there. And you do, before you leave that site, want to make sure that it's cool to the touch and you're able to safely leave it. Okay. All right. Okay. So if you guys, I'm going to lower your hand, Laurie, because I think you were done unless you had something else. If you guys don't have other questions, I made some polls. Now, these are anonymous polls, so you don't have to feel bad if, your name's not going to be on it, okay? So answer as best you can.
Mrs.
Go ahead.
I wasn't listening. We were feeding our dog. Sorry. What
No
are you talking about?
Ava, I betcha you're going to know the answers to these anyway. But we're going to do a poll, and you'll get a chance to guess what answer you think is correct. But it's a question. So we're going to do it now. You'll see what I mean. Here, we're going to get started. All right. So our first poll, our first set of questions are all about firewood. Okay. So you guys, there are 4 questions. Do your best to answer. And we will see how well you do. Right? And even if you're an adult, you're welcome to answer. If you want to abstain from answering, that's okay, but let me know, because I'm waiting till my counter gets up to 6 of 6 have answered. Oh, and there's 7 of us actually, so yeah. Take your time. You might need to scroll down, like after you answer the first 2, keep scrolling down until you get to the bottom, and then it will allow you to submit answers. Is anybody having a hard time looking at the poll? You all look good. Yeah, I mean, like you look like you're doing something here. Nobody looks too terribly confused, but I've only got about an inch of you to assess. I'll read the questions for you. So the first question is, what do we call the largest type of firewood? The answer options are tinder, fuel, or kindling. Our second question is, what is the first type of firewood you should try to light? Also, tinder, fuel, and kindling are your options. If you go down to number 3, what type of firewood is about the size of your thumb? Is that tinder, fuel, or kindling? And then number 4 is, to be able to easily start a fire, you need to select wood that is, and your options are wet, dry, purchased at a store, or broken from living trees. And I've got 4 of you have answered. So let me know if you're still, now 5 of you have, so we're getting there. Awesome.
Nurse Lynn is not going to answer. I can't scroll down.
Oh, okay. Sounds good, Nurse Lynn. Yes, Ava? Hold on one second. I didn't hear your question. Ask again.
I'm nervous about the results.
Oh, have you responded? Like you entered all your stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need to be nervous because nobody's going to know which ones were your answers. You know?
Yeah.
Just a way to check for understanding and reinforce it. We'll be good. Okay. So we still have one that we're waiting on. So we're going to give everybody just another minute. All right. Did Amelia get a chance to submit her answers? And Abby, you got a chance to submit your answers? And Kaylin, you got a chance to submit? And Ava just told me she got a chance to submit. So, okay, I'm thinking it might be one of the grown-ups who hasn't submitted. And so we're going to go ahead and end our polling. And I'm going to share the results. Okay, so the largest type of firewood is fuel. Remember? Tinder, kindling, fuel, fuel, fuel. So that was the correct answer. 4 of you got that. The largest type of firewood is fuel. Okay, the first type of firewood you should try to light is the tiniest because that's the easiest to light. So tinder, the ones that are the size of not my little finger, but like Amelia or Abby's little finger. You guys hold your little finger up so we can all see how little tinder is. Absolutely. Okay, very nice. Okay, that's the first type we should light. And what type is about the thickness of Mrs. Shunman's, Miss Contenta's thumb? And you guys all got that one. 4 of you got that one right. It is kindling. So we are majority correct so far. You guys are doing great. Okay, correct. To be able to easily start a fire, we need to select wood that is dry. We don't need to go to Giant Eagle necessarily. We just need to make sure it's dry. You don't want to break it from a living tree for a couple of reasons. One would be that living trees might not be dead wood and then it's not going to light because it's wet, but also we don't want to damage a tree. So in the video it said pick it up at the bottom of the tree but not break it off of the tree because you could hurt the living parts of the tree if you're breaking it off. That's all right. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing these results and we are going to do our second question. Oh, this one is safety. Okay. What do you need to do before you start your fire? Tie your hair back in a ponytail and put on a bandana or hat. Have an adult with you. Tuck away or take off any name tags, drawstrings, and loose items of clothing that would hang down from the body when you lean over. Have a metal bucket filled with water nearby. Oh, Kaylin, you didn't get this poll?
I didn't either.
Okay. Oh, you know why? Because I didn't press launch poll.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay. Tuck away or take off name tags. Have a metal bucket. That's where I was, filled with water nearby. Have a shovel and or rake nearby. Remove any debris from your fire circle and immediate surroundings or all of the above. Okay. Number 2, if you don't have a parent with you, should you start a fire? The first option is no. The second option is definitely no. And the third option is, girls, I really mean no. Okay. They did not explicitly tell you that in the video, and I wanted to make sure that you know that I mean no. Have an adult with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. You should have an adult with you, a trusted adult, someone that your parents trust you to be with. Okay. How do you extinguish a campfire safely? Ask my mom and dad to do it for me. And then the second one is longer. Spread the remaining fuel apart with a rake, sprinkle with water, hold your hand above to find hot spots and sprinkle with more water. Spread the fuel logs apart and hope for the best. If I can't see a flame, it's okay to leave or dump a bucket of water on the flames. All right. Number 4 is, how do you want to strike a match? A is with a parent nearby after we have followed all safety precautions. B is when no one is looking so I don't embarrass myself. C is striking the match away from my body and toward the tinder or fire starter, which would be like your target that you're trying to catch on fire. D is both A and B. E is both A and C. F is both B and C.
Oh my goodness.
And all of the above. I just am that kind of girl this afternoon, apparently. All right. So we've heard from 4 of you. So we're going to give you all a little bit longer. I'm so glad you guys told me you didn't get a poll. I do this a lot. Usually Miss Renee's here to say, Contenta, we can't see the poll yet. You didn't share it. All right, I have 5 of 7. That's what we had before. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, because I think they might be counting me too, and I know Nurse Lynn can't scroll down. So I'm going to end the polling and we're going to share our results. All of the above was the correct answer. So even if you said have a metal bucket, you were right. But really, all of those safety precautions are really super duper, ooper, schmooper important. When you drive through North Park, you see that picture of Smokey the Bear. It's important for your safety, and it's important for the safety of our whole area that we do everything very, very safely and conscientiously when we're doing a fire. So even though I have my bandana on, am I ready to do a fire right now? Do I look like I'm ready? No, I see people saying no. You need to pull your hair back. I do like a bandana. Sometimes at camp I've used a hat whenever I couldn't. Sometimes I've had to loan my bandana to a girl, but a hat has a brim on it. So I much would rather do a bandana and my ponytail. Again, we always want you to have an adult with you. At day camp, now we have those lanyard name tags. So we have to make sure we take those off. If we have a sweatshirt, if it's winter with strings hanging down, you need to take them off. You should always have a bucket filled with water. I like my metal bucket. That's the one I use. Have a shovel. I usually have a rake or a shovel, but having both would be good. And make sure you get all of those little bits of leaves and tinder that might be laying around in your fire from last time out of the way so that nothing catches fire accidentally. All right, you all answered no. I gave you no other option to have a parent with you when you start a fire. Okay, that's wonderful. You must have an adult, a trusted adult with you when you are doing that. Okay, extinguishing your campfire safely. You definitely want to do spreading the remaining fuel apart with a rake, sprinkling with water, holding your hand, finding all the hot spots and more water. So 5 of you got that one. We don't want to dump a whole bucket of water on the flames because it can make it overly saturated and you can't start your fire for your next meal. Or there can be hot spots, like you pour a whole bunch of water on top, but if you have a bunch of fuel logs that are creating like a little cavity there, there can still be a hot spot in there. Or dumping super amounts of water onto a flame, you can have pop. The fuel logs can pop and little embers can go out and start catching a little leaf on fire or some grass, and you could have a problem. So we definitely just want to sprinkle that water. When we strike a match, we want to do both A and C. That is correct. So you want to have a parent nearby. You want to have to do everything that we did in number 1, but you always want to strike away from your body. When I teach girls how to light a match, I often have them hold the matchbox and the match and stand right above my metal bucket so that they can practice just lighting it and dropping it, because it can be scary the first time you light a match because you're holding something that has a little flame on it. If you're with an adult and learning to do this with a trusted adult, they can have you stand there and do that. And I would recommend that after you've lit one, you hold it by the bottom and watch that the flame goes upward. And then if you get nervous, you can just drop it into that bucket. Kaylin says that's what your troop did. I think that's because Lily helped you guys learn, and she's my daughter, and that's how I taught her. Yeah. Okay. So you guys did great. I'm going to stop sharing these results. Does anybody have, I think that was my last poll. Yep. Does anybody have any other questions? All right, I have an assignment for you, okay? And you need to use your creativity so that you can show me what you do by posting a message, a picture to our gallery wall, okay? And this is Miss Laurie's idea, but I am just gonna assign it because I think it's great. We would like you to build a fire, but it doesn't have to be a real fire with a real flame, because you might not have a trusted adult. If you can build a real fire, if you have that ability at your house or somewhere safe, then go for it. But make sure you follow all of the safety rules that we talked about. The most important one being Which one is the most important one? Can anybody tell me? What's the most important safety rule? Amelia?
Being safe.
Yes, being safe. And who will help you to make sure that you do that? Who do I trust you to do it with?
An adult.
An adult, a trusted adult, right? Like your mom, right? So if you can, that'd be great. Build a fire and take a picture of it for me, and like include in your picture all those safety things that we talked about, your bucket of water, your rake or your shovel. But if you can't build a fire in your backyard, I have a couple other ideas. One is that you could draw me a picture of a fire pit with all the things that were on it. Another is you could scrounge around in your pantry and you could use pretzel sticks and potato chips and any kind of little candies or anything and build me a fire made out of food, because I like food. Cheese could be your flames. I'm just suggesting that because cheese is awesome, okay? Another idea that we had was you could build a fire with the rocks and the sticks, and then if you have like an orange t-shirt or some orange tissue paper, you could have that be the flames for me and you could take a picture. But I would like you to do all the same safety things we talked about, and if you can't remember them, where can you go to watch the video again to learn it? Anybody know? Oh, I see Amelia's hand again. Go ahead, Amelia.
Rallyhood.
You can go to Rallyhood and you can follow the link. I'm going to post this whole session on there as a recorded session. So you can go back and look, and the videos will be right in our session. But also on our YouTube page, there's a outdoor nature playlist, and those same 3 videos, the links to them are in that playlist. So if you wanted to learn about how to make fire starters and you can't remember, they'll be there. And the nice thing about virtual day camp is that those things will still be there in October when it's cold out and maybe you're going to your cabin or a camp and you want to build a fire with your parents. You can say, hey guys, let's watch these videos before we go on vacation, and we can build a fire when we're there, and you're going to be with me, but I can help. Okay? So give me a thumbs up. You can either use your reactions or use your real thumbs if you feel ready to build a fire someday with a parent. Awesome. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. If we don't have, oh, Kaylin suggested that she might build her fire out of Legos, and I like that idea too. Legos, if you had like Tinker Toys, if you had anything, you could make it. I saw on the TV, and Miss Laurie mentioned this about the orange t-shirt, but like people who were drawing with old clothes, like they'd roll them up into a ball for the rocks and roll them into a log. You can do whatever you think of. Use your imagination, but post your picture to the gallery and I will follow up. But I think that if you do that, you have earned at least a fun patch if you're a brownie for campfire building. Okay? Sound good? Thank you all so much for coming.
Bye.
All right. You guys have a good evening.
You too,
We
Miss
will
Jones.
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great night. Thank you to my chaperones.
Oh, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.